Hello, this is Virtualis the Chess Noob, learning and having fun with chess. Punishment and redemption. This is a story of a game of the Smith-Morra Gambit. I had the white pieces and as usual led with e4, and my opponent played c5, the Sicilian Defense, very solid, one of the best defenses by black against 1e4. Now, in the past, I used to play the Grand Prix Attack, starting out of the closed Sicilian. But I've kind of gone off that, and I realized part of the reason for that is once I got into sort of intermediate sort of level, the players of the Sicilian will often be able to turn the Grand Prix Attack lines really just back into Sicilian-ish lines. And I don't really have an advantage because black, who are Sicilian players, just play those positions better than me. So I've now turned to d4, the Smith-Morra Gambit. Black will take. I now play c3, and captures is the Smith-Morra accepted. And now knight captures back on c3 with development. And the logic here, at least at the gambit level, is that we've taken that c pawn out of the picture. It's evaporated, it's like it's no longer there, it's gone for a merry ride, we lose a point of material in doing so, but we no longer have that thorn on our side. For that point of material, we gain a little bit of development, and this is actually perfectly okay for white. At high depth, this position is roughly minus 0.1 to minus 0.2. So even though we're a whole pawn down, our position is actually quite a bit better than black. So this is potentially quite good for white. But importantly, from the playability perspective, this position will often lead to games and lines that don't look very much like the Sicilian, especially if white now plays quite aggressively. And against an opponent who's used to a particular type of opening, this can sometimes make all the difference. In this game, my opponent plays, develops their knight. Makes a lot of sense. Here, both of us just play normal-looking developing moves. I now develop my bishop, having a look at the f7 pawn. They now decide to push their d pawn. And you can see a logic here, opening up the diagonal for the light square bishop. This is in fact the best move for black, but either of those moves seem to block in one of their bishops, don't they? And this is the advantage with having my pawn already on e4. This is a relative inaccuracy, and basically at high depth, Stockfish reckons we're back to 0-0-0. I develop my other knight, and black, now perhaps feeling a slight sense of delayed development, plays a very natural looking move, bishop to g4, attempting to gain some tempo by pinning my knight to the queen. But this is a blunder. This is now roughly, I think, at higher depth. Yep, it's almost +4, +3.8. And it has to do with the weakness of the f7 pawn. So I actually saw the sequence here because this sequence is part of a fairly common pattern that we sometimes see in the Vienna. Can you see it? Basically, it's bishop to take that pawn. Basically, bishop here with check. King has to capture back. We now have knight with check. Let's say the king drops back. Queen now takes the bishop. And here, for the temporary loss of the bishop, we capture the bishop back. We gain a pawn. And we also gain the concession that the king can no longer castle. And here, white is doing really well out of the opening. So you can see how easily, with the Smith-Morra Gambit, that black playing normal-looking moves can make a fairly serious, error, effectively, in the opening, and leading to lines which don't really look very Sicilian-ish. In this game, however, even though I saw that that was almost certainly the best move, I decided to play a bold, romantic, objectively terrible move, and that is knight to f5. What was I thinking? This is, I think, about -7. Hanging 2 pieces simultaneously, hanging my queen, my queen, also hanging my knight. What was I thinking? Well, if black decides to get a little bit greedy and takes the queen, I now have mate in 1. With bishop captures a pawn on f7, it's a trap. Very, very lovely. It's a pretty funny line. Now, admittedly, this trap might be a bit obvious. And, this was, I think, hubris on my part. And black punished me rightly for this foolish move by knight captures knight. And black is basically completely winning now. However, when you're in a losing position, as I am in now, what can you do? Double down. Go with the aggression. You're losing anyway, but if you do super aggressive moves, you can sometimes create opportunities to win. So here, knowing that my queen is under attack, I give a check. Bishop to b5 with check, and I saw that, if they block with the knight, that doesn't make a lot of sense because then I'll take the bishop. So pretty much they're forced to move the bishop back, which takes the pressure off my queen. And black saw that, and that was their best move. Next, I decided to play queen to e2. What's the logic here? Well, in these positions, queen on the e file, potentially in the future, I've got a pin of that pawn, that e pawn to the king. And I saw, given the cramped position of their king, if I could get rid of their knight from that position and my pawn, knight here and here would be a smothered mate. And even if it's not a smothered mate, there's a potential trickiness there. So a future potential resource. Now, having the queen and the king together on the e file, of course, risks a potential future skewer. However, I thought it was okay at the moment. And I'm losing anyway, so why not? They develop their knight, attacking the pawn. That's okay. I want to potentially be able to trade that. I decide to get my king out of the center, so taking away the risk of a potential skewer. They now bring their knight back to sort of break that potential pin, and also, loosening up their bishop. So I saw that. I now decide to bring my bishop out, so potentially pushing that forward. Interestingly, they decide to sort of play a more positional game by moving their rook to c8. Push. What are they going to do? Attack, attack. I saw that obviously they're going to take, right? Take, I take. Now, look at this file. My pawn is gone. That knight I thought was probably going to take. Queen, it's pinned. It's pinned. Remember this idea? Potential smothered mate. They now bring their queen out. Obviously, they want to take my bishop. Not so easy necessarily because, of course, it is defended at the moment 2 ways. But here I decided to play another romantic, bold, arguably very, very silly move, but a trap. But I thought this trap might be a little bit more difficult to see. I decided to play knight to e4. Taking away the defender. Now, what was I thinking? I was thinking psychologically. Black might not see that that is pinned. They might not see this trick here. They played the queen out here wanting to capture the bishop. So the tunnel vision, potentially, the continuity of thought is to capture the bishop. Black could obviously punish by just taking, right? But obviously the continuity is to take the bishop. They just moved their queen. That queen looks like that bishop looks like it's free because they take and now we can offer a queen trade. If we trade queens, then obviously it looks like black is completely winning. My queen in the center of the board is my most active piece. They get rid of my queen, they're completely winning. They're winning anyway, but all threat is gone. If they can do a queen trade, they nerf my attack. So that's what I thought psychologically be what they are thinking. And I was right. They took my bishop with the queen. Now in this position, it's about -11. A blunder, and in this position, it's about +10. An absolutely massive reversal of fortunes, redemption. Because now I have knight to d6 with a royal fork. This pawn is not defending the d6 square because it's pinned to the king. Here, black suddenly must have seen what had happened and opted to resign. Emotional damage, good game, GG. My big takeaway from this game is that the Smith-Morra Gambit is a very reasonable option to play against the Sicilian Defense. I hope you enjoyed this video, and thanks for watching.